We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, welcome everybody. It's Debbie from Debbie and Dell's Mind, Body, and Soul, and everything in between. We welcome you to our show today. We're real excited about our guests. I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle. I am a certified personal trainer, fitness instructor, and health coach. And my beautiful co-host, Dell.
I'm Del Lady Jones, and I'm a certified relationship and divorce coach. And today, as Debbie said, we're very excited to have two very special guests with us. We have Johanna Spinks, who is an internationally renowned, plus so many awards, I can't even begin to start mentioning them. There's like 5 pages I was printing out. A beautiful artist, and we have some examples of her work here. And along with Johanna is the art model Shannon, who is a muse of Joe's. And
we welcome you guys.
Yeah, and the show today, we're going to talk about basically about the female form. It's always obviously been in art for centuries, and female empowerment, and just using art as a form of storytelling. So we're going to sort of cover all those areas. But before we go into that, we'd love to hear about your journey, Johanna, and how you got here. You're a fellow Brit.
I am, and thank you, Del and Debbie, for inviting us here. I'm excited to be here. I've been enjoying the show. So how did I get here? Well, I've been a portrait artist, painting portraits professionally for about 20 years now. 20 long, hard years. Yeah. I'm joking. I've been very blessed to paint people from all walks of life: butcher, baker, candlestick maker, mayors, police chiefs, Kevin Costner. That kind of thing was just delightful. Mm-hmm. It's been a great journey. How I got here, I started really the art journey as a makeup artist. Worked with one of the top agencies in Los Angeles for quite a few years, and then got some headache virus thing which stopped me working for a while. So I thought in my recovery I would go and take up some brushes, take an art class, and the portraiture actually came to me pretty, not easily, but it was a natural draw for me. I'd seen light. I know you know about that, Debbie. Yes. Photographers working with light. I knew about color. So I found my place, with portraiture, and it was a surprise. If anyone had told me 30 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing today, and I've had the most incredible ride of my life the last 20 years, I would never have believed it.
Mm. And it actually, you really started before then. You were a journalist.
I was.
And so you were always a storyteller and fascinated mm-hmm. in people, their journeys and everything. So this is just another art form.
How did you go from journalist? I'm curious because I've known you for a very long time. I knew you from the transition of makeup artist to portrait artist.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you from the transition from journalist to makeup artist. So how did that transition go?
Well, I started out as a cub reporter on a weekly newspaper, the Bromsgrove Messenger, and then went to the Worcester Evening News, then moved to New York, worked for the New York Post, Weekend Australian. I was actually a Rupert Murdoch baby.
Oh.
But I came to it actually, in all honesty, a little bit too early. By the time I'd had my babies, I had children pretty young, first baby 26. I never really felt I was very good at journalism. I always felt, in all honesty, that I was going to be caught out. Even though I had done like an apprenticeship, a 3-year training under the National Council for the Training of Journalists, which is a very rigorous course, actually. But it was not really who I was. It wasn't my passion. So the switch happened really because it wasn't my passion. I'd had children by that point, and I was, I think, emotionally, mentally looking for a way out. So babies came and decided to devote time to babies, and that was really the end of my sort of newspaper days. Although I will say that everything I have done, all the skills sets that I've learned from those two different careers have led me into, what I've been doing the last 20 years. I use every one of those skills that I learned in both those other careers. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, being a makeup artist is you have to have that artistic ability to.
Yeah, and
to
dealing with people,
with
I
people,
mean,
yeah.
the portrait world is a dealing with people kind of job. The makeup world was a dealing with people kind of job.
Very intimate.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got booked really because you were able to handle people in difficult moments on the set.
Personalities
Yeah. Well,
and stresses.
Debbie, so,
yes, very well.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
I
know
would
exactly.
say being a mother
Yeah.
also had helped you to get to where
course.
you are, because that's a job that
Yes.
really teaches you so much as well.
It's the only job really that's the really important one.
I
think.
know.
Exactly. I know.
yeah.
We all agree with you on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
So, well, we've got so much to ask you, and I'd love to get a lot deeper into this. But
Sure.
before we move on, I'd love you to introduce your muse here,
Yes.
art model Shannon.
I'd be delighted to. Art model Shannon and I met 2 years ago. I paint from life every week, art models, fine art models, just to keep my skill set up, along with painting, real life sitters too. I'm painting the mayor of Malibu on Thursday from life. So Shannon came into my life, and it was a lovely click. Shannon is very interesting to me. She's has been a nurse for 28 years. She's also a fine art model, but along with that has become an artist in her own right. And Shannon, I'm going to let you take that away now and explain your art form.
Thank you, Johanna. Thank you for having us on your show. I have been in the nursing field for going on 28 years now.
Goodness.
Look way too young.
Thank you. The first 16 years, probably, I worked almost exclusively in geriatrics, so nursing homes and hospice care, which I absolutely loved. As you get very tired. It's a lot of work physically and mentally. I have done per diem in hospitals. I've pretty much run the gamut. I've done pretty much every kind of specialty. I've worked in OBGYN. I have worked internal medicine, dermatology. Right now, I am nurse educator for a medically supervised weight loss clinic. And about 3 years ago, I had a good friend of mine pass away from cancer at the age of 39.
Oh my goodness.
Within a month of diagnosis. And after she passed away, I kept having dreams of her, and where she would tell me, oh, you should, do art modeling at the college. They would love to draw you. They would love to paint you. I honestly thought she was crazy because I'm actually a very, very modest person, and I've done nursing my whole entire life. I don't know anything else. I've never modeled, much less, for artists. So on the 1-year anniversary of her death, I decided to do something to kind of pay tribute and honor her.
Oh, beautiful.
And
really
I
lovely.
did a artistic nude photo shoot that would come out in a book. And then I threw my hat into the ring with fine art modeling. I knew nothing of it. I didn't know where to look. I just Googled fine art model in Ventura County and came up with Art Lab Ventura, contacted her, and the rest is
marriage was
history.
born.
Wow.
Wow, isn't it funny how we have something comes to us and it propels us, and we don't know what that it was never there in the first place, but something changes in our life, and then this calling happens, and you shift gears and you go towards it.
Yeah,
Really
honestly,
lovely.
I thought I was only going to do it one time. And I was terrified the first time that I did it. I thought I was going to pass out, honestly.
bet.
And then by the end of the modeling session, and I walked around and I looked at everybody's drawings of me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I kind of never looked back. I knew nothing of art. I've never had an art appreciation class. I don't draw or paint myself. But I just threw myself into everything art and just fully immersed myself in it. And I am not shy by nature, so I think that helped me a lot. Where I'm a naturally friendly person. I would just talk to everybody. So
how did you feel when you walked around? I mean, I'm a painter too, and specifically figurative painting and nudes is my main thing. But how did you feel when you first saw the images of yourself? Were you self-critical? Were you flattered? What were some of the feelings that went through your mind?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
That every single drawing of me looked different. And honestly, I didn't look, what I look in the mirror, none of them looked like myself. So I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the one thing I love about working with art model Shannon, is that she is so interested in what is going on in the painting room, the studio, the teaching room. And that's unusual, you know. It's oftentimes, you know, the fine art model will come in and they'll be doing their sitting, and they've done it 1,000 times before. And I think Shannon, because of her background, brings, you know, real empathy to the room, and I enjoy working with that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely. Oh. So back to Johanna here. So so we were talking about your journey and going from, so what happened when I know you said you were sick and you took some time off from being a makeup artist.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back to that, or you just really went straight into the portraiture world?
Yeah, you know, it took a few months to get to that point, but no, I never went back, and I realized that I had a thing with the portrait art. I hate the word marketing, but you know, I had learnt those skills in my other previous incarnation.
Yeah. Big helps.
And my big challenge, honestly, was was really learning how to draw well. You know, portraiture is one of the hardest art forms to really pull off. You know, you have to be incredibly, you know, meticulous with your drawing, and then you have to have spirit on top of that. You've got to have a voice. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be your take on it. And that's taken me, I think, really quite a long time to develop. It didn't come easy to me developing that part. I was probably getting commissions way before I should have done, and I think those portraits are probably now in a few attics, covered with cloth.
A little hard on yourself.
No, but, you know, but that's okay, because again, it's all about the journey, and you've got to start somewhere, and you don't start off being 20 years later. You start off at the beginning.
That's
you know?
right.
So,
It's everything's a process.
And especially with portraiture, though, I mean, you've got to understand, you know, you've got to take somebody's face down to the bones, to the muscles, the sinews, the everything to understand, and then on top of it, like you said, getting a likeness, putting the spirit into the painting.
Right.
Do you spend some time with your subject ahead of time to get to know them?
Oh, yes.
Obviously that's the only way you can capture the spirit part of it.
Well, on a portrait commission, for example, I painted the official portrait of the Bishop of South Carolina last year, you know, and then I was flown in by the diocese, and we have a morning talking, and then I always request a life sitting where, you know, he would sit in front of me, and it's probably about an hour and a half that I paint his face in oil, and you're under pressure because, you know, they expect a likeness, and it's not.
You have a time pressure, right?
But, you know, I'm talking to that gentleman and other sitters like him, and there is something that cannot be replaced by having someone in front of you, and Shannon knows this, and you are looking into their eyes for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and there is no experience in the world like that. I mean, you go out with your friends maybe for a lunch or something like that, or an evening dinner with pals. You're not looking at them like this for 2 hours.
Right.
When you paint someone's portrait from life, you are, and they are looking at you,
right?
And there's no turning away. So you just have this incredibly special dialogue.
Connection.
Yeah, and I just got shivers talking about that, because I've seen it so many times now, that interaction, and each one is so unique, it's so different. You know, not only am I recording their life, their moment in time, shall we say, but I'm also recording my moment in time that particular day. So it's a wonderful thing.
Does it take a minute, or it like you said, each one is so individual?
Yes,
so
it is.
Some are probably quicker than others that you get that connection. It takes maybe a few, and you probably, like you said, if you're flown in and you're meeting somebody for the first time, that's a different process than if, let's say, you did me, and we've known each other 25 years. You know,
Yeah.
it's a different story.
And the other thing too is, I mean, when I used to paint figurative, I mean, our main thing was like the model had to stay still. But when you're doing somebody's portrait, I mean, they can't really talk because they do.
My sitters always talk.
Exactly.
Always talk. I'm always talking for the whole hour and a half. And actually, what happens is the sitter relaxes, and you really get to feel them. I relax. My subconscious then takes over. So my years of training, and I have had the best mentor on the planet, Mr. Everett Raymond Kinsler, who has painted 7 American presidents in his lifetime, all of those presidents alive when he painted them. So I just say that to show the breadth of his career. You know, a zillion pieces in the Smithsonian's collection. You know, that's my teacher. So he was the person that I saw on stage all those years ago, and he was talking and he was painting a portrait, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I said to myself, that's my dream. That's what I want. I want to be able to do that. So I then started a discipline of the life painting. Nature is the biggest teacher of all in art, whether it's painting from life or painting a landscape or a still life. And slowly built up to the point where my subconscious could take over. So I was no longer worrying about getting a likeness while I was talking to them. It was actually better. I'd get a better likeness if I was
well, you get the essence of them.
Yeah.
But then there's that, I know what Dell was thinking is that, well, wait, then you won't get the mouth right because they're talking or their facial muscles are moving.
Somehow you do.
Constantly.
Somehow you
But
do.
Yeah.
Somehow
Okay.
you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is really, I mean, all of you are artists. I am not. I have a daughter who's one, but I am not. So this is all new and very informative to me about the process.
Yeah.
Because I see the end result, but I
Right.
don't hear about the beginnings and the actual in the middle of it. So
Right.
this is really of interest to me.
Well,
Yeah.
that's terrific. Yeah.
And it's so funny too when model Shannon, was talking about when you walked around and saw everybody's painting, it was such a different take
Yeah.
on you. And they say that when you paint, you tend to sort of you almost like really skinny painters tend to paint the models skinnier, and heavier set painters they'll be a little more voluptuous the way they paint a model. And there's certain sort of
The way they see life.
Yeah, the way they
Yes,
see
it's
it.
different.
You end up melding a part of yourself in with the model. Have you found that, Jo?
I have, and you know, people often talk to me about flattery as well in my portrait, my commission work, like how far I will go in flattery. And you know, obviously, you're working with people, and nobody wants to look bad in a commissioned portrait. It's just not the way. I'm not Lucian Freud, unfortunately. So you know, my standard reply is, I'll take 10 years off. I'll take 10 pounds off. I'll whiten the teeth 2 shades lighter, poof up the head an inch, and that's it.
That's so
10
funny.
pounds is I think that's pretty generous.
Really. Yeah.
You can
Well,
take me.
providing the life sitting went well. Otherwise, it's £5.
Oh.
5 years. No.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my
yeah.
So you really do have that discussion
Yeah.
when you're like in the pre-stages.
No, I would never talk to a sitter. I actually would ask in the life sitting, is there a side of your face that you know you prefer to the other?
Because
you know,
most people have a side when they
do.
photograph.
They do, oddly enough.
I just haven't discovered my side yet.
But no, I don't sit there and say, oh gosh, I'm going to have to worry about that little muffin top or you know, no.
No, you don't have time. I mean, it's like a meditation. I mean, that's what it happens for me. Is you go into this zone and you can't be thinking, is this flattering? Is it not? It's like it is. It's painting a landscape, but it happens to be a human. But you're just looking for form, shadow, dark, light. You know, receding, coming forward. It's just a whole process. So
I call it, what I'm truly looking for is, you know, and Shannon's seen me paint, so she kind of knows, you know, my thing around that. I am looking for a speaking likeness. So particularly on a portrait commission where you're spending really quite a few weeks usually working on paintings that are quite large, when I as an artist think I've got this speaking likeness, looking like they can step up off that canvas and talk to me, or someone who walks by them in a room, that's where I stop. Even if the likeness isn't, you know, like 150% likeness. I'm after that presence on that canvas of that person, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
very much
fabulous.
so.
I
Okay.
love the
I like that.
analogy. It's
Yeah.
great.
Speaking likeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Shannon for
Yeah.
a moment here. So how did you, I mean, was there any self-consciousness or anything the first time you modeled? And was it partially clad or completely naked? How did you?
There was a lot of self-consciousness,
Yeah.
honestly, because like I said, I have never done any kind of modeling whatsoever. But I just kind of looked up to the sky, said, "This one's for you, Susie." Once I
wow.
took off my glasses, I'm completely blind, so that helped a whole lot.
But tell the folks more about your other art that you do for yourself and using your body as your art form.
So apparently, I was never aware that I had something to say. When I got into art modeling, that's all I was doing. I was just going to throw myself out there and be an artist model for artists, painters. And after having lots of discussions with Johanna and her
Don't
support,
blame it on me.
her support and encouragement, she kind of helped me find my voice and made me realize I do have something to say.
You sure do.
I honestly would have never thought that I was an artist because I don't draw and I don't paint. However, I do photograph. The problem with that is my friends and family are all very camera shy, so I don't have easy access to models. So what I did in the meantime, until I do get to that point where I can hire models that will let me showcase my work of them, is I became my own muse.
Beautiful.
So I spend a lot of time taking self-portraits, and I will do a number of things to them. It depends on my mood that day. It depends what's just really weighing on my heart, even what I've been looking at in my social media feed for that day. If something just grabs my attention.
So the photographs of they're sort of black and white, almost sepia color. Are those of you that I see on Instagram?
Yes.
Oh, these are beautiful.
Yes, they're
Absolutely
really
beautiful.
quite stunning.
They are. In fact,
Wait, so how does that work? How's that process work that you...
Honestly, I do all of my self-portraits with my iPhone.
With your iPhone?
With my iPhone on a 15-second timer. So depending on which photo I'm shooting, depends how easily it gets done. I have done one of the favorites that Johanna and her friends had liked, actually, was a triple exposure that I had done out at the sand dunes. That one almost killed me, trying to get that done in 15 seconds.
So do you use a
selfie
stick? How do you do it?
No selfie sticks. That particular one, I just turned on the timer, set my iPhone in the top of my purse, ran down the sand dune, got into place. Just in time, it went off, and I did it several times. So
God, that's amazing. I was just going to very quickly. This is a couple of the I'm showing.
Wow.
Debbie, here's a couple of the pieces. They're beautiful, stunning.
Thank
wow.
you.
So where can people look these up?
At this time, I'm in the middle of making an official website for my own art.
Okay.
My social media, I do only allow my other artists to follow me, and I keep it private just because I am a nurse and I don't really want patients or coworkers stumbling upon my work, and that may affect me negatively in my nursing career.
And what about your husband? And I know you have children. How do they feel about you being?
They're perfectly fine with it. My husband is extremely wonderful. I could not be more proud of the stance that he's taken in showing support for me.
Oh.
He is not an artist. He does not follow art, know art. And for him to stand beside me crazy who takes up this kind of thing at like 45 years old. Not too many people.
True.
He did think I was a little bit crazy to begin with. He's like, "You're gonna do what?"
Oh.
But he has been so supportive in everything that I do concerning my art career, whether it's modeling or becoming a visual artist. He is 100% supportive of me, and I really can't thank him enough, because not a lot of men would be that way. I don't think, their wives taking
Naked.
off taking off their clothes in front of other people. So
Yeah, that's so funny. When I used to paint nude models, my ex-husband would be like, "You're not painting men, are you?" And I'd be, "Oh no, only gay men." And then one day I came back with another painting of a woman, and he said, "Who's that?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's Raj's girlfriend." And he's like, "You told me he was gay." I was like, "But yeah, some men are not happy with it.
No,
Whether you're the one
not.
taking your clothes off or you're painting nudes." So.
And my mother is so supportive of me, and my youngest sister, they're very supportive of me, and I'm very grateful that I have that support system.
How old are your kids?
My son is 29 and my daughter's
Oh, my goodness.
27.
Oh,
my
my
gosh.
goodness.
And I have a 28-year-old stepdaughter also.
So have they
look like a
seen
baby.
they seen your work?
They have. My son does not want to see me.
That's my question, I think. That's where I'm going.
But he has seen the drawings. He has seen drawings of me, but he has not obviously seen any of the photography work that I've been shooting of myself. But my daughter has, and she seemed like she was fine with it.
Yeah, appreciates the art expression of it.
While we're talking about your modeling, I don't know if the viewers and listeners can see this beautiful painting behind here. This is Johanna. You just did this last week, was that right?
Shannon came into the studio last Wednesday, so that was total painting time on that one was actually about 2 hours. So,
2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's remarkable that you can pull something that
Gorgeous.
beautiful
And
off in
as
2
anyone who
hours.
knows me, I love painting corsets.
Exactly.
We had a corset discussion one day.
So anytime I can get one of those in a week, I'm there.
So
Did you get one of your Supergirl? Was it Superwoman
No,
corset?
but it will be coming.
Okay.
Oh, is that from Halloween? Did I miss something?
Well, I was on a trip to the East Coast actually to visit my mentor, and there was this store there, and they had all these superhero corsets, and I almost had an absolute fit.
I
and
was like, oh my God,
they were
stop.
sequins. So my fellow traveling artist had to sort of drag me out of there with just one Supergirl corset. But yeah, I do love corsets.
Funny. Oh my goodness.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, I think it was a few years ago now that you gave yourself a 365-day challenge.
Yes.
And I want to go and ask you, what was the motivation behind that challenge? Did you meet the challenge? And how was that for you? How did the whole thing wrap up?
Yes, that was 2010, and I did meet the challenge, and they were not casual drawings. I was spending 2 hours a day on those drawings on top of what my commission portrait workload was. It was a great year for drawing. My skill set improved immeasurably. I was actually motivated by the movie Julia.
That's what I thought. Julia.
Yes.
Julia, I think it's called.
It sounds very cliche, but I said to myself...
Oh, where she was cooking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Julia
Okay.
Child's recipe a day.
And I said to myself, what's the thing I could do that would improve my skill set this year? And of course, it's always the drawing for me. So I did it, and it was wonderful, and it led to a show. I got a piece in American Artist magazine about it. And it also led to what happened next with the public portrait projects. I started the Face of Ventura as that year in drawing was ending. My confidence level was up. My drawing skills were very sharp. So that year has really changed what has happened for the last 5 years in my art life, actually.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
I would
incredible.
think so.
It's really hard to do something every day.
I know. So yeah, that's the other. That
Yeah.
was part of the question.
Yeah.
Is how did you get the? I mean, there's some days you wake up and you just number one, don't feel good. You could
No.
have a bad cold or
And I did.
a headache,
Broken
or
wrist.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, I had challenges.
So yeah.
So did you paint with it or draw with the other hand?
It was my left, but it's
okay.
still you're thrown out of your
Yeah.
groove and holding your supplies and palette and whatever. It was a challenge.
Did you have a minimum time that you were going to commit to this?
No, I decided that the work that I was going to put out, because I ran it on a blog and social media, and in those days, 6 years ago, things were a lot different on social media. One was really able to use it very, very well. And so I said to myself, what I'm putting out has to be of really high quality. The drawings have to be good. They have to capture attention. And so I was spending a lot of time on them. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yes.
our music.
So
we're going to
impressive.
be going to a break here. So we definitely want to come back, and we want to hear all about your Faces of Ventura, Faces of Malibu, and Faces in Charleston.
Yes.
Okay, and all the wonderful characters you've met and painted, and we'll talk more when we come back. And again, anybody listening that would like to call in, our phone number here is 323-473-3100.
And we'll be right back.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Lady Jones, and I'm a certified relationship and divorce coach.
And I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle, a certified personal trainer, fitness instructor, and health coach.
Join us on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific, for Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between, exclusively on LA Talk Live.
Become part of the conversation with expert guests discussing life-changing topics such as relationships, divorce, longevity, parenting challenges, dating, intimacy, and so much more.
We would love to hear your opinions and questions, either on our Facebook page or by calling us directly at 323-473-3100. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, and now live on Facebook, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. And now on our YouTube channel, Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
I got this feeling. Welcome back to Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, and Soul, and everything in between. And we're having a lively, wonderful discussion about art with our guests, Johanna Spinks and model Shannon. And we left off on a challenge that you gave yourself a few years back, 365 days of painting or drawing every single day.
Yes.
And you were talking about how that made you you became a better drawer. So
Absolutely.
which pays tribute to the fact, doing
Practice
something every
makes
day, you just
perfect.
get better. Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I would like to share, that, anybody can learn to draw, and anybody can at any point in their life, become a painter or something like that. The number of times through teaching, I've taught on the faculty of the California Art Institute, Los Angeles Academy of Figurative Art over the last 9 years, along with a lot of demos for art groups around the greater Los Angeles area. And I constantly have people come up and say, but it's too late, it's too late.
No,
this, that, and the other.
never too late.
And that's the one thing that I would really like to say to listeners, and I'm not just talking about painting. I am living proof, and Shannon as well, that you can start something and apply yourself. Yes, you do have to apply yourself, of course.
Yes.
But you can start at any age. And I get rather sad when I see maybe a 70-year-old person come into one of my art classes and they have this sort of wistful, oh, I've lost so many years. And so that really is a message that I'd really like to get across today, that no matter what you want to do, just go and do it. It's never too late.
No,
Agreed.
absolutely.
And that's a big message. And it's a big reason why Del and I started the show in the first place.
Right.
Is for inspiration. And we have many people on that have reinvented themselves. Not just women after the kids are older, but men that have followed their passion. I know I used to be in production for many years. I was a television commercial producer. And a lot of people I know that have shifted that business and weaned themselves out of the business, especially directors who are creative types, are now doing art and are finding I'm not going to say true calling, but a passion, or their bigger selves, their higher selves, and at a much older age. It's never too late.
Yeah. Well, as you ladies know, if you, it sounds so cliche, but if you live your life with passion, you can do an awful lot. And I probably work a lot of hours at my job, even when I'm not physically painting, because there's stuff to do other than just painting, to keep the business end of it running and get more work, more commissions, etc. But it doesn't actually feel like you're working all these hours because you are so engaged. And that's not to say there are some days when it's just like, ugh, do I have to do that? There is a toilet bowl in every job. But I mean, there really is.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you are one of those people who are lucky enough to wake up in the morning and do something that just gets your juices going, it's amazing. And go for it if you want that. There will be sacrifices. There are always sacrifices in pursuing.
That's a big part of living. One of the things that I practice as a health coach and I help people discover is self-care. And one of the branches of self-care is that you enjoy what you do. And it's usually what you do is your career, because if you're going and dreading a job that you're doing every single day just to bring home money, and you get very little pleasure out of life, because, I mean, think about it, a big portion of our time is spent in our career.
Yeah.
And if we don't enjoy even the toilet bowl part of that, I mean, if we don't enjoy any part of that, and the whole thing is a toilet bowl part, then think of what you're tearing down from a health standpoint from the inside out.
You're
you see that.
completely affecting your health.
That's right.
If you stay in a job situation where you are not happy, if it is not your passion, I highly recommend to
Up to your microphone.
Yes.
We want to hear, because you have a lot to say right now. We want to hear you.
I highly recommend you to just follow your passion. I actually gave up nursing full time. I would work anywhere as a nurse before I started modeling. About 50 to 60 hours a week. I was juggling a lot in my nursing career. And honestly, after 28 years in the field, I'm kind of burned out a little bit. I love helping people. I love trying to inspire my patients to be healthy and to better themselves. But I am really loving being able to take care of myself also, because nurses, they never take care of themselves.
No, they don't.
Because we're always busy taking care of everybody else around us. We're caretakers, exactly. So right now I am kind of taking care of myself, and I've stepped back from nursing full time. I'm doing that part-time, and then modeling and working on my own art the rest of the time.
So it's come around. And when you do take care of yourself, everybody else benefits from that.
I like to think they do.
Your family, it starts with your family, and then they go out, and it becomes a bigger network. It's so important, self-care.
I wanted to also mention, because you were talking about, you found your creativity, even though you'd said to yourself before, I paint, I can't draw, but you found an art form that worked for you, and that you still get that creative outlet through your photography and being your own muse. I love that
Every morning I wake up, and most mornings, sometimes I'll shoot photographs of myself. Honestly, I have not showered yet. Nobody would know.
Exactly.
And I don't know if I should say that, but I will.
That's okay.
It's whenever the mood strikes me. So if I roll out of bed and I had been thinking about something all night, and I will just start shooting.
Did you shower before I painted you last week?
I did.
Just checking.
You probably would have known if she hadn't.
One thing I'd also like to add into we've all just spoken about the the concept of time, the time you put in, the time you spend. It's something that I've been really mindful of recently, that all we actually can really control in our working lives or in our lives is our time, especially us freelance creatives. And this is a concept that I heard from the lady who wrote Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert, that, in the days of social media and seeing, Instagram accounts blow up and artists going into, the big magazines and, and you're being reminded of this daily, this constant barrage of success out there and this feeling of sometimes inadequacy. Well, get off that social media, control your time that you're spending on whatever it is that you want to improve at, succeed at, and big things will happen, controlling the time. So I have been really working with that recently.
I think that's so true for millennials, which, we all have right now, and our children is, they grew up with the cell phones, and they spend a lot of time looking at what everybody else is doing. And you're right, they need to put it away at night, put it away, and don't use it as relaxing. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's gotten bad, but I can tell you that my daughters are worse. And it's because it's so habitual for them. I didn't grow up that way, and I had to sort of live in the moment and deal with things and not look at everything that's being put out there, because that is detrimental. I really agree with you on that, Johanna.
It really messes with your head, and I'm actually very careful in the morning that I don't go. Most of the people on my thread are artists, like art model Shannon probably too. I'm careful when I look at that thread now, again, being careful of my time, because it can just like throw me off. Supposing I was going to do a small painting that day and I went online and I saw, someone else just did that, and there's no point doing that now.
Right.
So, and it's a silly example, but you get
No, but it's
drift,
true. And plus, I mean, I always look at Johanna and I think, my God, you're the one of those people that has 36 hours in a day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you truly, you, as much as being an incredibly talented artist, you take this very seriously. I mean, you write for art magazines. Like you say, you teach. You are constantly, it's not just, I'm an artist and I paint occasionally. I mean, you are so disciplined in going into your studio at a certain time and putting the hours in. And, all, as you say, all the other stuff that goes into it, acquiring those commissions, connecting with your agents, and we all know that one.
Yeah, we do.
So.
But I do feel, though, that I have a responsibility. I did come to art late, but I was given the gift of the mentor that I talked about earlier. And, we are very much in contact. He still helps me. I just went to stay with him and his lovely wife, Peggy. I have a responsibility to pass those teachings on to other folks. I do mentor young artists, and I do that for free. I don't like the word free, but it's my responsibility, having been given what I have been given, this great gift from Mr. Kinsler, to play it forward. And that's very important to me.
Good for you.
No, you're incredible that way. I also want to talk about the Faces of Ventura and Faces of Malibu and Faces of Charleston. I mean, these are all free sittings. This is done for the communities. To explain more about that.
Well, it's a public art project that I started right after the 365 Drawing Challenge, and I started with it's all free. I've painted right now about 120 people, as I said, from all walks of life. They're painted in a single sitting. Each one has gone into a newspaper of that town, the Ventura Breeze, the Malibu Times. We hit sitter number 50 in Malibu next month. And then the Face of Charleston with the Charleston Mercury has just started. We've done 7 sitters there. So the most important part is that the sitters are asked about their life story, what they think about being painted, and what they think about the town they live in. So to my mind, the sketch is part of it, but it's not the whole thing. The sitter's story is what has got them on my model stand, and I am really trying to showcase that story, the world of portraiture, that there's still an artist crazy enough who wants to do an hour and a half to 2 hour sitting with a stranger who's talking all the time. But the one thing that I have found so far is that as divisive as an election year might have been, there is a unique thread of humanity that goes through everybody. In the Malibu thing, I've painted quite a few politicians. I don't know why it worked out like that, but I have 4 mayors, I think, people from different sides of the track. And when you get someone sitting in front of you and you talk about life, careers, children, in such a personal way, that really has been a wonderful thing for me to see, and I take comfort in that when I see craziness. There is just this unique thread of humanity. It doesn't matter what town you're painting. People are basically good, and we all kind of want the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
I mean,
so
everybody
lovely.
has a story.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
when you can dig in, I work at the drug and rehabilitation centers, and I meet new faces every day, and I have to get to know them before I can really help them. And they all have a story, and sometimes you look at somebody who abuses drugs and alcohol as a loser, and that's not the case.
No,
Once you get to
absolutely
know
not.
them, it's a much bigger picture. So it's
Yeah,
just wonderful
always.
that you have, when you think of art, you don't think that you get to know people so well, and yet you do. And
Now,
that's-
with these, you call it a sketch. It's much
Yes.
more than a sketch.
Yeah.
isn't it?
They truly are a sketch.
Well,
they
that-
truly
that-
are a
to
sketch.
you.
To us,
And I
they
think
look-
there's a lot of people who see them out there in the newspaper and on social media who go, "Oh God, really?"
No.
No. And
But now, do you
I know.
the stories underneath? Do
Yes.
you actually do the writing of
No,
those as
I
well?
don't.
Oh, I was just going
I
to say that
don't
would be
have time for
way
that.
too much.
But it
Okay.
is a pretty standard. Homera Schiffer has been doing most of the articles in the Malibu Times, but they are asked about what they thought about being painted, and that's very important to me that they're asked each time about that, because as I said, I do want to showcase the fact that people still want to do this, and as Del, as you and I were talking about earlier, in this age of selfies, they're just taking over the planet. No offense to selfies.
Okay.
But in this age of selfies, let me take a picture with my eggs Benedict at the diner.
Yes.
There's something to.
So what is it you think that, I mean, because I don't know anybody that doesn't, having been a painter myself,
Yeah,
doesn't
you're a great
love being painted. So what is
gosh.
it? What are you
Oh.
finding?
Well, I have to tell you, I can honestly say that quite a few people turn up and they feel very nervous. The concept of being painted is very odd for them, and I usually just say, look, this is just like being at the dentist.
That's odd for some people
First
too.
10 minutes are a little tricky. After that, you'll forget you're even being painted, and actually, that's exactly what happens.
Oh my, that's so funny. I'm just thinking of a root canal. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd tell them it's just like being at the dentist.
Yeah, I know, because the
that sort
root
of-
canals, all of it's tricky to me. But
yeah.
Oh,
no.
that's so great. So what I also wanted to talk about is, because for both of you, because I know that you both have a passion, and Joe, earlier when we were talking, you mentioned that you want to get involved in some type of charitable collaboration. Can you talk more about that?
Well, yes, and I'm reaching out to the listeners here. The Face of Ventura was tied into Food Share, which is the incredible organization headed up by Bonnie Weigel. Food Share feeds all these hungry mouths through Ventura County, and they came on board with the Face of Ventura and really sponsored my show at the museum at the end, where we had, I think, 450 people from the town. Sorry, it's Bonnie Atmore now, not Bonnie Weigel. That was incredibly rewarding for me. The Face of Malibu, as I said, hits 50 sitters in December. I have not yet tied it in with a charity. I'm looking for a charity that would like to use the Face of Malibu in some way. It doesn't have to be a Malibu charity. If there's any way that a charity would be interested in coming on board, no money required, no sponsorship or anything, but just getting some use out of this Face of Malibu project to spread the word, their mission. I would really like to find that charity.
So can you talk a little bit more about the Faces of Ventura and how that collaboration worked? How did it actually, what does it look like? You said it was...
Well, in Bonnie's case in Food Share, they had an art program, and actually in that case they did have a little bit of expenditure for this art program, and they had also been gifted by the Heifer International, the pavilion room at the museum. So that was all a very nice thing that flowered, and Bonnie is the most extraordinary lady, does great work. So, with the face of Malibu, I have tried not to control anything. I'm open to ideas, but there will be a show next year. The Malibu Times are putting on a show, and I would love, the press and stuff that show's going to get, hopefully. Let's use that press for a good cause. So, we had a press agent with the Face of Ventura, and that was all, Food Share's name getting out there. Not that Food Share don't do a great job already of getting their name out there, because they do. They're incredible. But, I am a big believer, in let's use this for a good purpose. I've donated my time. I've never been paid for any of these sketches. All the supplies and stuff is off my own ticket.
Now, when you would you do different a different series of faces of? My mind's going 100 miles an hour here.
Gosh, in terms of a different town or around a charity?
Well, I'm actually thinking of
subject.
I was thinking of the when we had the program about a month ago.
Yes, I listened to that. Yeah.
For abused national awareness for.
Great show.
Yes, it was wonderful. So just thinking of maybe women that have suffered some type of abuse. I mean, it would be wonderful to sort of. I'm thinking it might be uplifting for them to have a portrait done, or a series of portraits, something like that.
I would actually love to be involved in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody listening out there, anybody inspired to call in, we're at 323-473-3100, and any other ideas along that line. Jo's been incredibly generous here and putting it out there that she'd love to have somebody getting involved.
Make use of it, really. Just make use of it.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I also know that, Shannon, you're very much into female empowerment and embracing your body, and any thing you want to share about that?
As you know, we're inundated 24 hours a day with pretty much an unattainable, unrealistic beauty standard, beauty ideal. That the majority of us, 98% in the world, we will never fit into. I like to show through my work, hopefully, that beauty can come in all shapes, all sizes, all ages. I work with a lot of patients who are very much driven by their weight, whether they have history of eating disorders or they're actively trying to lose weight. When I educate them, I always make it about health and being healthy versus a number on a scale. As a nurse, I know I should pay more attention to the number on the scale, but
no, you don't need to.
I really don't, because what happens is that's going to be their sole focus, and I don't want that to be.
I work with a lot of patients that way too, a lot of patients in the rehabs that have very distorted images of what they think they should be.
A lot of body dysmorphia.
Right, and it's what leads them to drugs and alcohol a lot of times. And we saw a wonderful documentary last Thursday night.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we have
a
caller.
We have a caller.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello? Did we lose you?
Oops. Okay, maybe you could call back, but for right now, we'll go back to Shannon. She'll continue to. Oh, sorry, Debbie was just sharing about a movie we saw.
Just exactly what you were saying. Yeah. We saw this wonderful documentary that I recommend. It's out there. It's called Embrace, and it was put on by this Australian woman, and I have forgot her name, her first and last name.
Me too.
But she did a documentary on the distortion of body image and what it was. She just focused on women on this documentary. It was a good 90 minutes of going around the world and actually interviewing women that have had eating disorders. She interviewed models. She interviewed all age groups and people that had accidents and were deformed in fire. I mean, and just the way they turned around and embraced their bodies, no matter what they look like, and how important that was, because people are always trying to achieve something that the media has put out that is unachievable. This movie brought tears. I mean, it was just pulled at every
I know
heartstring.
which movie you're referring
Yes.
to.
You do.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
Beautiful
really
film.
incredible. I mean, it started off that she'd had 2 children. She had stretch marks. She felt that, she really wanted to get her body back. So she went on this mission, and she went above and beyond. She actually became one of those, a bodybuilder, and was in competitions. And she said that she realized that she was miserable. She was not participating in her young children's life. She was not sharing meals with her husband. She was just on this mission to just to fit a body image that she thought she should have. And so her before picture was actually this very svelte, muscular frame. And then she went to her after picture, which she proudly displayed on everything, as these nude pictures of a beautiful, zoftic, soft, curvy body. And she's healthy. She runs marathons. She's physically fit. But I mean, and the thing is that with the magazines, they're not even real. I mean,
No,
even
they're
the
not.
models are not real.
Yeah.
They're airbrushed, and she shows where people are just, I mean, exactly, they're just made up.
The
I
way
have
she
young,
took off.
I mean, we're talking 10 years old
Yes.
patients
Yeah.
already obsessing about their weight, the number on the scale, how they don't look like the girls in the magazines and the girls on TV.
Social media.
It
Absolutely.
breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Taryn was her first name. What Taryn did
that's
was
right.
she posted those before and after pictures on social media, and it blew up because it went viral. It went viral, which nowadays means around the world.
Yeah.
And that's what launched her to realize there's a bigger message, because the comments and she would spend hours reading the comments that people were making. They were basically letters, and they were calls for help. And they were thanking her, so she went and sought a lot of those
But there
people
were
out.
some awful ones too. There were some that were
there were
absolute
mean. There were haters.
haters out there. And
You pig.
yeah, but going back to that thing, I come from a family that have had eating disorders, and it's usually been from, I remember my mother, bless her, was trying to be nice, but when I was about 9, she was like, ooh, you might be getting a little chubby. Here's one of my diet pills. So I just got the message at 9 that I was chubby.
And you weren't good enough.
And I
That's,
was
that's the
exactly.
thing.
And even when I was 5'5" and 105 pounds, I still felt fat. And that's where you sit there and you go, well, wait a minute, does that mind frame ever leave you? And that's the whole purpose of this film. She said she was in this impeccable, condition, specimen of health and musculature and everything, and she still wasn't happy.
No.
And
It was
so,
too much work. It's a lot
the number
of
on
work.
a scale is
Yeah.
not what is going to make you happy.
Exactly,
No
yeah.
matter
No.
what. It's never going to make you happy.
Now, having said that, being very overweight is unhealthy. So
Of
we have to
course.
think about, what we're putting into our bodies, and why, a lot of times people are overeating because they're trying to feed the same way they use drugs and alcohol. They're trying to feed an emptiness. So we have to address those things. But at the same time, body image is so distorted through.
Well, we need
what
to
we
train our
think.
doctors, honestly.
That's absolutely
we
true.
need to train our doctors to maybe
That's true.
send these women to counseling to deal with their body dysmorphia, to deal with the root issue of
That's right.
why they don't feel worthy, they don't feel thin enough, pretty enough, smart enough. We also need to start teaching our young girls not to focus on the way that they look.
Yes.
Teach
yes.
them to focus on what's on the inside. Teach them to use their brain instead of just
and
use
their heart.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really, I have always encouraged that with my children, to just, really focus on their heart and their minds, and not the exterior too. There was a question I was going to ask. So basically, what would you, if you had to put it in a nutshell, what would you say to some of the listeners that might be feeling that they don't look good enough, or ways to build their self-esteem? Do you think getting naked helped you?
You know what? It was. I've always been.
Putting it bluntly.
I've always been confident. I like to.
She looks
think,
beautiful naked, by the way.
Oh, yes.
We're all
Thank you,
gonna
Johanna.
seek that out.
And thank goodness, I'm very grateful to my mother, who never ever made weight or body size or body shape or my looks an important factor when growing up.
Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
never heard my mother speak negatively of her body. My mother was beautiful. I'm talking drop dead beautiful. And she was, what would be considered today would be considered, a very large woman. She was like probably 5'10" and 180 pounds. She was gorgeous. Still is, but she was perfectly shaped like a goddess. If she were that size in today's society, she would not be considered that. She would be looked at like, well, what's wrong with you? You need to lose some weight.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it looks like we are coming to the end here. But Joe, so I'd like to finish off with you. I know a very important part for you is the reinvention. What would you say to listeners out there about how to just grab life by the...
Yeah, live your life with passion. Do it. Don't put anything off. Now is the time. And that first step is always the hardest step. So just take the first step, take a deep breath, do it.
And let us know, how can our listeners see your work and give out your website and all the information?
And buy your
Thank
work.
you.
Yes,
JohannaSpinks.com. You'll find it all there.
One
Everything's
hub. Just one. Go ahead. And Shannon, same for you. Do you?
I am working on my website right now for my art, but I am always seeking models and
how can-
age, size, race.
How can
everything
listeners
is
get a hold of you if they want a
They
model?
can email me at artmodelshanie, SHANNIE, @gmail.com.
Terrific.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you.
Yes, what
Thank
a wonderful
you.
show.
Great
Thank
show.
you so
Thank you
much.
for inviting
Thank
us.
you. Applause
Thank you.
all the way around. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week with
tuning
another
in.
show. Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, and Soul. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. It's under the lights when everything goes nowhere to hide.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.